Hi everyone, and pre Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to see you, and I do say that every time I look into the camera because I'm thinking of you, even though I'm just looking at a screen right now or at a lens. And it's nice to be back in Los Angeles after a few weeks away, and to see the progress that's taken place in the sanctuary and in the gymnasium, even in the time that I've been gone. And we're getting very close to an extraordinary grand opening weekend on Labor Day. Details forthcoming. I hope you'll join us for much of it. And it's great to be back in the community and with our staff, and to welcome Rabbi Schatz onto the clergy team in a more official way, and to see the work that Rabbi Shapiro has begun to do in the Youth Learning and Engagement Department. It's great to be here. And I want to share a short piece of Torah with you, followed by, I'll say it again, a meditation at the end that you obviously don't have to listen to, but enough people responded positively to the last one that I want to do this in some frequency. So the piece of Torah will be over, and you can press end, and those who want to linger on for the meditation can do so. The piece of Torah comes from Parshat Balak. That's the parsha we're reading this weekend. A strange, wonderful, fascinating parsha where we have a mercenary prophet named Bilam who gets hired by an unpleasant king of Moab named Balak. They both begin with a bet. To curse the Israelites. Balak wants the Israelites who are in his way as they're going across the desert to be cursed. And Bilam takes the job, but God intervenes or intercedes and kind of becomes a fountain of language for Bilam. And every time Bilam opens his mouth up to curse the Israelites, only blessing comes out. He can't help himself. And at some point, perhaps he starts giving those blessings of his own accord. Some of those blessings we recite as part of our liturgy. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob. Those are the words of Bilam that he says when he tries to curse the Israelites, but he only blesses them. We say them as part of our prayers. And one of the times that he's speaking these words of praise that he can't help but say to the Israelites, he has an interesting verse. And he says, Lo hibit aven b'Yaakov. You can't find any iniquity in Jacob. No matter how hard you look, it's just not there. They're not sinning. V'lo ra'a amal b'Yisrael. And there's no bad stuff, no unpleasant, immoral toiling happening among Israel. And the next phrase, Adonai Elohav imo. For Adonai, his God, Israel's God, is with him. What does it mean to add the fact that their blamelessness, their they being cleansed of all sin, of all transgression, is connected to the fact that their God is with them? I think that association of our interaction with God and our sense of being without blame can work in nefarious, terrible ways, and also quite positive ways. Two quick commentaries to bring that out. The Khatam Sofer, who was a late 19th century, early 20th century from Pressburg, who, by the way, did not like our spiritual ancestors in the early Reform and Conservative movement. He wrote many screeds against us, but he was also a Talmud Chacham. He was a sage, and he knew a lot about our tradition, and I love reading his material, aside from the stuff that he wrote that puts our movement way down. And this is what he says regarding that verse. We say elsewhere in our prayers, quoting from Psalms, Shiviti Adonai le'negdi tamid, I place God in front of me always. What he says is that someone who has in his thoughts that the Holy One is with him or her in every place that he or she goes, that person is not going to sin quickly, and you're not going to be able to see iniquity in that person, because God is with that person in everything that he or she does, at every moment, in their hearts and in their thoughts. What I think he's trying to say is that if you live a life with God and godliness and divine purpose, you're going to be kept away from the types of slippage into more base human behavior that he would say someone without religion, without Adonai in his life, would fall into very frequently. If God is in your life, you're not going to sin. Now, we should know that that's not the case. You can look around the world and see plenty of people who claim to be living a life of God and who fill up their lives with terrible sins in between themselves and other people, in terms of how they use their words and how they deal there with their business and how they operate their lives. What the Khatam Sofer is saying is that the more connected you are with God, the less likely you are to slip. The danger, I think, is for someone who is living so connected to his own relationship with God that he or she presumes that he can't possibly be sinning. How can I be sinning? I'm a person of God. How can I be sinning? I'm a person of Torah. And in their heart of hearts, in their mind of minds, they say to themselves, I am clean. I am pure. I am holy. Because after all, I'm a religious person. And in that situation, religion doesn't only not distance the person from sin, it actually justifies the sin, because the person is so convinced they're in the right. There's a danger there. I think that danger is understood by another rabbi, a Hasidic rabbi, Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin, who was known as the Holy Ruzhiner, the Holy One from Ruzhin, who was a Hasidic master in Ukraine and eventually in Austria. And he reads the verse slightly differently. What does it mean to say that God is with the person in relation to the fact that that person is blameless? He says, Afilu ksheYisrael choteh, even when a Jew, and let's extend it to a human being, but he's talking about the Jews, sins. Gam shehu ba'omek hatahom, even when that person is in the depth of the chaos of the sin. Od yesh bo nitzot Elohim. There is still a spark of God there, even when a person goes way low. Or shel tshuva nehavev b'libo. The light of tshuva, of repentance, is flickering like a flame in his heart. Gam b'sha'at hachet, even in the moment of the sin, Adonai Elohav imo. The God who is that person's God is with him, not to justify the behavior, but to pull him from the darkness of iniquity and of sinfulness and of treating people poorly, and say, that is not divine behavior. You want to earn you pull yourself out from that spot. As if Bilam was looking at Israel, not seeing them blameless, but seeing them even when they sinned, having God be a part of their lives, and that spirit pulling them to do goodness over and over again. My message to you and to myself, which I'll continue with in a meditation in just a moment, is to ask yourself that question. Are you honest with yourself that when you are acting in a way that is almost entirely impossible to defend and to justify, are you saying to yourself, I must be right, I must be okay because I know I'm a good person, I know I'm a religious person, and therefore how could what I be doing is wrong? Or do you use God's presence in your life to awaken yourself to the behavior, to the character that you know a Jew and that a human being ought to be exhibiting? I hope we can do much more of the latter and much less of the former, and use God in our lives to bring ourselves to wholeness and to beauty. And I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. And if you have no interest in the meditation, you can press stop now, and I'll wait a few seconds. So if you're still with me, you're interested in doing just a bit of quiet mindfulness before Shabbat. So whether you're listening or watching, I'm going to ask you to do what I'm doing, closing my eyes. Again, don't do this if you're driving. Take some cleansing breaths. The breaths that when you take them, you actually feel nearly every cell of your body being reawakened and revivified to purposefulness and to a sense of the holy. I want you to feel the beautiful pull of gravity on your body down towards the floor where your feet might be resting, towards the chair or the seat that you're sitting on. Feel that wonderful slouch of your body being at rest while your mind is alert. My teacher, Sue Weston, who talked about poised rest. Be at rest in this moment, but be poised. Let your body sink into it as your mind and your consciousness becomes more erect and more present. And I want you to everything back with all of the honesty and the candor that your mind's eye can muster. Go back through the week. The week that we're ending right now as Shabbat welcomes us with a beautiful embrace. If you're like nearly every human being on the planet, it was a week of triumphs and a week of errors. A week replete with moments where you surpassed what you might have expected of yourself in terms of goodness and character. And a week that had perhaps more than a few moments where, upon reflection, you erred, you made a mistake. You went low. You disappointed not only others but yourself. Choose one in that last category. I'm going to wait a few seconds as you locate it. Identify a moment of avon, iniquity, transgression, sin, missing the mark, not living up to your own expectations of self. Find one. Hear the words that you said in that moment. Try to re-inhabit your body in that moment and what you were feeling. Were you feeling righteous or self-righteous? Did you know in the moment that you were making a mistake? Or in that moment were you so absolutely sure that rightness and rectitude were on your side? How often and how easily we can delude ourselves and claim that the side of the good, that the side of God is our side. Almost precluding us from ever considering ourselves as being in a sinful place. But we are, more often than we like to admit. And we do, more often than is comfortable thinking about. Let this be a week where when we say Adonai Elohav Imo, that God, our God, is with us, it is with us as a goad to aspire to do higher and better, not as a justification for what feels good in the moment. May our relationship with the divine and Jewish life and Jewish ritual elevate us beyond what our natural selves do instinctually. May it be said about us, just as Bilam said about Israel, according to the Holy Rajner, that since God was with them, even when they sinned, the spark of realization, the beginning of tshuva, of repentance, was already flickering in their soul, pushing them to do better the next time around. That's living with God in a worthy way.